in the Southern Hemisphere for round number 7, of the North American Sim Racing Series Season 23 here in Kyalami. Glad you could join us here at a very, very damp track here for qualifying, which has just gotten underway. My name is Jackson Lambros. I am joined, as always, by Elliot Brown. Elliot, how are you?
I am doing great, Jackson. Looking forward to some really wonderful racing here at Kyalami tonight. I think it's going to be fantastic. We have some really high temperatures today, and we got a little bit of potential weather, so we're going to see how the drivers handle it.
Our designated warm temperature night here, which has always kind of been a staple of the round if we go to 7. And weather being now factor more than ever, as you can see on track right now. Wet conditions, but should dry out relatively quickly. We've got a guy in here that knows all about these kinds of changing conditions and how to manage it perfectly. It's a guy I had the honor of calling throughout Season 22 to a couple of victories in the Podium Hunters Ford Mustang. He's spent this season in the race control box with Ryan Belloon and several others. But it is the king himself. It's Greg Cacciadurian. Greg, how are you?
Hi. I don't know what to do with my hands.
That's the correct answer. Greg, let's start with this really quickly. Wet race, hot track, weird combo, but from a driver's standpoint here, especially with how predictable things could be, how are you approaching this track if you're maybe not with us, but if you're in the driver's seat?
You gotta be flexible, because it's not only is it hot and a chance of rain, it's high variability, so you need to prepare for there potentially being more than one weather change in this race, despite it being only 65 minutes long.
So 16 minutes to go here in qualifying. I kind of want to put Greg on the spot right now because Casey Jackman's working his way through these final 2 corners. And again, we've dealt with Kyalami a handful of times here, and Casey Jackman is working on a flyer. So let's jump on board here with the man from Trinidad. Greg, you want to give us a lap?
Sure. Well, we are starting well into the lap now. This is Sunset. It's going to be a long, sweeping right-hander. Downhill, mostly blind. Key here is carry as much speed as I possibly can. Not like that.
Oh, and that's a big oof.
It is, did I mention it's a very tricky corner?
Let's try this again. I messed up the timing line with the starting line. Let's try this again. Another BMW. Keith Bull in the 12 for Turner Motorsports. Greg, give it again.
There we go. So, getting onto the start to the straightaway now, it's a very long straight, high speed. It's a very big braking zone at the end of it. Starts off with kink, easy flat out. Now you're looking for the 100 board, about the beginning of the paved runoff on the right. Hard on the brakes, get it tucked in. Get it tucked in.
Come on, Jackson.
It's the driver's fault. Don't blame me, man.
Well, and it's these wet conditions, right? These wet conditions are they're absolutely incredibly challenging for these drivers. I mean, these drivers having done so many laps in general, it's just tough. I mean, Greg, you did it last season. I mean,
yeah, and in defense of the 2 drivers that we just watched crash on there, it's a very tricky qualifying because it started out wet, but there's a dry period. So what some of them are probably doing is going out on slicks and banking on the track drying up while they're out there. That way they can kind of get ahead of the curve and find some time out there before the rain comes back and before everybody else swarms in at the last minute.
Speaking of that, you've driven in these types of conditions before. For you, is this there's a little bit of rain on the track, the condition's wet, but it's drying. Is this an ideal time for slicks? We've got hot temperatures, the tires will be warmer. How do you weigh, as a driver, the difference between whether you want to be on wets or slicks in these conditions?
Yeah, you definitely look into it and take into account how much time there is till the next predicted rain shower, which is about 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Also how many other cars are on track. And you can also even just squeeze right on board now. There is something of a dry line beginning to form, so that might just be enough with having almost 20 cars on track. That might be just enough for you to go out on slicks and make it through a lap alive and be ahead.
Brian Crane takes advantage of that very quickly. Sorry, gentlemen, but he advances up into fourth. We haven't talked about the leaderboard so far, but it's Michael Landry up front, followed by Mikhail Charles. That's your provisional front row. Davin Sturdivant and Carter Hayne making it all on the second row. Brian Slater works himself into fifth. Brian Crane in sixth right now. He was the first to kind of get on the semi-dry line right now. He's trying to put it back on right now. He's already quarter of a second up from his last lap.
Yeah, we can see the track drying out a little bit. We can see, like Greg mentioned, we can see that dry line forming, and so the other thing you got to think about as a driver is it better to put wets on initially, get a lap in, even if it's a bad lap, just have a lap in so you know that you've got one, and then switch out?
Yeah, that's something you can absolutely do, especially if it's an unpredictable session like this weather-wise. Just being able to get something on the board is a good call. Right about now is when I would probably start to consider maybe going to slicks. I'd have to really,
Yeah.
we can't see from our point of view, but you'd be seeing what your tire temperatures are, what your pressures are. If they start just ballooning out of control, then it's time to switch off.
And I mean,
right now this is probably borderline.
Yeah, and I mean, especially when you consider that a lot of these corners right here we see it at Cheetah, these are high speed, very, very demanding corners on the car when it comes to grip, both mechanical and aerodynamic. So those tires are absolutely going to be screaming. We see it whenever we race at Barcelona. We see it at other places as well. Brian Crane to the line. He improves to fifth. Zach Martin holds on to fourth for the time being. But right now the best McLaren remains Landry. Richie Wood now gets in with a best of sixth place. Carter Hayne improves up into second right now. Less than half a hundredth of a second off of Michael Landry. We saw this drama last week at Monza with these changing conditions. Guys are reacting to it differently. And some guys are really pouncing on the moment. Brian Slater as well, quarter of a second behind the pole right now. But guys continue to dig right now. Carter Hayne almost an entire second up right now as he works his way back down the hill.
Yeah, track is definitely getting faster. And mixed conditions like this, the NSX is very, very happy.
Yeah, and that's a car, I think, Davin and Carter both throughout the season talk about how it performs extremely well in wet conditions and changing conditions. And so they're both absolutely in their element at this race tonight.
Carter Hayne been pounding on the podium all season long here in season 23. Hasn't quite gotten the opportunity yet to get a very solid result. It looked good at Nürburgring, some drama in Monza. This will be optimistic though. He comes to the line right now, nearly a second up. He stands on the pole position provisionally right now, nearly 3/10 up from Michael Landry. A couple of other guys with sporty pace further back. Brian Slater is one of them, currently a quarter of a second up. Mikhail Charles was down. He'll retire from third right now. Go back to the pit. Still 10 minutes to go right now, but it's Hayne, Landry, Charles, Slater, want your provisional top five. And now Joel Klaus, who we haven't seen since Barcelona, enters the scene right now, knocking on that top five ranking as well.
Yeah, and the rain, I think these guys are going to stay on slicks the rest of the session. We've got 10 minutes left. I think I saw rain start at the 15 minutes mark around 5 minutes ago. There is no reason they're going to drive in that. They're going to put all their fast laps in while the track is drying out and see how much speed they can carry through their entire qualifying.
So again,
this is.
You can correct me if I'm wrong here, but we see that weather data in the top right there. And we see that rain cloud in 15 minutes as Joel Klaus now works his way to the top of the leaderboard. We know that it will be raining at that 15-minute mark. Does that mean necessarily we could see rain before or after?
Before and after, yeah. So the thing about these weather indicators in this game is that the weather says there will be this condition this many minutes ahead of right now. And so all it's telling us is that exactly 15 minutes from this moment that we are in, there will be rain. It doesn't tell us when that's going to start. And that's the thing that drivers have to start getting used to when they're using these the weather system here is that the weather is telling them what it will be at that time frame. It is not telling them how long it's going to take to get to that particular condition. So it's even possible for there to be rain between now and 5 minutes from now with the way the weather system in this game works, and we just might not see it on the radar.
So our big actual determiner here will be that track conditions being read out as damp right now, so not fully wet. Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan trying to get the most out of that. He might have just pushed the lines there on track limits, getting that AMG just over the white line. We'll see if it'll count, though, as he gets that Jumpy Whale Racing Machine to the line. He was looking sporty, but lost it a little bit in that third and final sector. Comes to the stripe and is best for top 5 overall. So it is now Joel Klaus, Zach Martin, Carter Hayne, Michael Landry, and Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan as your provisional top 5. But with 7 minutes to go and this track drying, gentlemen, I would not be surprised to see that shuffle drastically here in the next couple of minutes.
This will be, it's almost always Landry on pole, but I think this is where if there's ever been a opportunity for him to not be the guy on pole, this is going to be it. These changing conditions, these hot conditions, I said it when we went to Nürburgring that the wet levels the playing field, and these conditions do so even further. They take the inherent advantages of every car and turn them into almost all the same. So I think we're going to see a real big shakeup here today.
First batchup of new flyers on the way. Davin Sturdivant will be the first to deliver right here in this Retro Wave Honda NSX. He's also been looking for a good result. That 1-2 Honda punch of Hayne and Sturdivant hasn't quite gotten the opportunity. Obviously had that drama with Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan at the end of Nürburgring there with that lunge in the chicane. But again, has played the patient kind of driving style and has waited for the advantages to come his way and for him to kind of work towards those. So very good opportunity here for a podium, for a top 5. We shall see. Want to turn your attention over to this man right here, though, Mikel Charles, who's struggling to get his mustard-colored M4 on a solid lap right now. He still leads the championship with the drop round, but had some drama at the Nürburgring. Michael Landry has been looking racy so far in practice and in House of Practice testing this week so far. So definitely the big question here is how far back will Mikel Charles go and how much can Michael Landry pounce on this opportunity. These are basically your big 2 contenders for the title fight as they stand right now. We have what was going to be our final round here, but with our server issues in the opening week, we had the round at Spa pushed to next week, which will actually be our finale. So it's really all about setting the stage for the finale here, Elliot.
Yeah, and I know Greg loves these questions, right? I mean, we see so much chaos into turn 1 at every track. And so we mentioned Spa coming up next week. And so, Greg, you know what the obvious question is going to be, and that is turn 1 Spa, what's your take? The silence speaks volumes.
So the fun thing about Spa, when you take the green flag, you are actually past turn 1 and going down the run to Eau Rouge.
Right.
So, I'll put it this way. Last time I stewarded for a race starting at Spa, I warned everybody, one of the most dangerous corners in the world, and you're going to be starting the race too wide, cold tires, cold brakes. Take it easy. And the opposite happened. So...
And I think we'll look forward to that. I mean,
yeah, it can go one or 2 ways. Everybody either behaves and they can give each other just enough space, and they all get through, live to see another day, or it's just pure chaos. So
it's going to be a dramatic show, but we're still setting the table here for Kyalami. Was an all-Italian 1-2-3. Michael Quant has broken that, and now in the blink of an eye, it's become a Ford 1-2 right now. That'll make King Catch happy, the Mustang pilot himself. It's Zach Martin and Michael Quant there, but Michael Landry has now split it.
Yeah.
So Zach Martin,
Landry
Michael
came
Landry,
back.
And Michael Quant, your 1-2-3 provisionally. Joel Klaus still trying to dig here in that Muffin Team Rocket Lamborghini Huracan. He's working his way down the hill. He's looking fast enough right now, nearly a whole second off of his first dry lap here. 3 minutes to go in qualifying. Joel Klaus looking to be the one to beat. Was relatively quiet last season in 22. Came back for, I believe, 2 rounds. Laguna Seca was one of them. I believe we might have seen him at the wet race as well at Snetterton. Can't totally remember right now, but looked very, very racy there. He's looking good here right now. Just set the fastest time right now, 1:43.95. Nearly a second up from Zach Martin and Michael Landry, who, by the way, are less than 300ths between one another. Edriel Lugo Ortiz works his way to the front now in that AMG. Half a second off pace, but that's good enough for second in his Mercedes. So starting to get that leapfrog. Brian Slater now up into third. As our track now is fully dry, we have a green racing surface, so starting to maximize the grip on these green tires. But Joel Klaus still doesn't think that's enough. He's finding more pace. He's skating, sliding all 4 wheels here at the top of the hill in this Lamborghini Huracan, trying to extract as much performance as possible in this Huracan.
Yeah, and for those at home watching, right, the track is currently 42 degrees Celsius, which is 108 Fahrenheit. I mean, this track is absolutely blistering hot. These tires are taking an absolute beating. We can't see their pressures, but I guarantee you they are higher than anybody wants them to be. Tires are looking yellow, red. They're going to be pushing this system, these tires and these cars as hard as they can. Wide open brake ducts, just hoping for the best in these conditions.
Getting into the witching hour here, less than a lap time remaining. So if you've got a banker, you've got one more lap to do it. Actually, I say bankers, everybody should have kind of put their safe lap in already, and now is the time to turn up the heat and see what you can do. Amos Movo's the first to do so, 1:43.7, just over a tenth ahead of Zach Martin. Joel Klaus to the line. He's going to be the one to beat. Yes, he is, 1:43.6. Leapfrogs Amos Movo by 0.105, excuse me. Zach Martin right now looking like he's got enough to potentially leapfrog him as well. Arjun Lakshmi now up into second. Back and forth we go here in qualifying. Zach
So
Martin.
we have Slater.
Zach Martin looking to be the favorite, but we're starting to see rain come down here with 30 seconds to go. That's going to ruin the Delta if Zach Martin's got anything else. But it's going to be Mother Nature's going to say pencils down for qualifying at this rate. Zach Martin out of the final corner. What's he got? Lost it a little bit with the sudden rainfall. Is it going to be enough? Close, but no cigar. 0.073. And with the rainfall, that is going to be essentially Joel Klaus handed the pole position right now. Arjun with a shot as well, but that delta's starting to drop here as the rain continues to fall. Carter Hayne also able to maybe improve from 5th. Edriel Lugo Ortiz from 7th. But guys, nearly everybody in the top 10 stood on the front row, if not for at least 10 seconds here. So another dramatic qualifying session. It ends with Joel Klaus on the pole here. Unless I say that Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan still within Delta. He's got a chance through the final corner here. Delta looks good to the line here. Checkered flag is out. Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan wins at Monza and at the buzzer takes the pole position. Brian Slater might be another one. He's got a solid Delta too. Does his Ferrari have any pace in it left? To the line, improves from 8th to 5th, but not enough. And a brand new front row here after Monza. Kyalami will be all Joel Klaus and Zach Martin in another dramatic Hollywood qualifying session. We'll step away briefly here as we get the grid set for round 7. Don't go anywhere. It's round 7 from Kyalami here. The rain in season 23 of the North American Endurance Championship. Hey, Chad, it's Jackson. Just hoping you're doing good. We're gonna break into small group discussions here while we're waiting for the field to grid up. I just want your guys' favorite colors in chat. The more specific, the better. And if I got time, I'll throw that question over to Greg and Elliot later. If we got some dead air here, we can fill. But I don't want to feel bad for you guys, so I just kind of want to encourage conversation in the chat. So, favorite color, go. Okay, bye. Want to remind you that you can join in on the action even though Season 23 is coming to a close, as we have a plethora of off-season races, as well as the recently announced this week 8 hours of COTA, with all outsiders from all leagues welcome to join. Certainly don't need to be exclusive to North America as well to join. I need to remember the date specifically. I want to say April 12th specifically, but
yes,
more than welcome to join. Thank you, Elliot. But link to the sim grid as well as the Discord is more than welcome if you guys ask for it. Let's go through your starting grid right now. Starting at the back of the field, Layla Martinez and Mikhail Charles, a guy who we weren't expecting to be this far back, but was struggling with car comfort and qualifying. He'll have to start off of 17th and see how far forward he can go to keep his championship lead. He's got another BMW in front of him in the form of Keith Bull. After that, it's Don Debian, furthest back Ferrari in 15th. Brian Crane starts in 14th. Casey Jackman is 10th. Michael Quant is starting in 12th, had a really solid result, top 10 last week at Monza. He's going to try to run that back again in his Ford Mustang. Davin Sturdivant is 11th. Richie Wood, who was flexing his muscle early in practice, unable to really get off of that. We'll see where he can go from 10th. Edro Lugo Ortiz is 9th.
Followed by a Jorge Blasini Rivera in that beautiful BMW in number 8. Side by side with Michael Landry, a little bit of a surprise in 7th. Carter Hayne and Brian Slater making up the third row, number 6 and number 5 respectively, with Amos Movo and Zach Martin filling in that last podium position.
Said it again, but a fresh front row here at Kyalami. It's Joel Klaus on the outside, the lone Lamborghini Huracan flexing that V10 muscle big time. Was looking very strong for the pole, but got swept up by our defending race winner, that Jumpy Whale Racing, that pink and mint machine, the AMG of Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan, who will go for back-to-back wins. We mentioned it earlier for strategy, but again, the temperature is high, the conditions are going to be drastic, although we're going to open here with 15 minutes of rain. We could see guys coming to the pit lane twice here this race, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be one of those races where strategy is really going to play key with the changing conditions and the heat. If you run the wet tires in the dry particularly long, you'll beat them up really aggressively. So we'll want to, kind of keep our eyes on who pits when, if and when the rain ends, right? All we know right now is that it's raining through the next 15 minutes. There may be a light break between the 5 and 15, but we have at least rain guaranteed all the way up to the 15-minute mark, and that's going to throw a monkey wrench into this race today.
So if the weather last week was a wrench in the plans, the heat has turned that up by 1,000. Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan trying to go back-to-back. Michael Landry trying to dig that championship lead on Mikhail Charles, as Charles will drag his way back from 17th. Who's going to get it here at Kyalami? Major championship implications on the way. We're underway here at Kyalami. Great start from Lakshmi Narasimhan, trying to hold Klaus to the outside. Little bit of drama further back there as Martin tries to get a move on the inside of Movo. 3 wide on the inside. Michael Landry on the inside of Brian Slater. Carter Hayne hangs on to the outside, but a nuclear move. Michael Landry wins the whole shot. Brian Slater goes with him to improve up to 5th, but business as usual further up, finally getting single file. Further back, Casey Jackman trying to move in that BMW Bastos car. Works his way up into 12th, but a nuclear move from Michael Landry on the start gets himself 2 positions up.
Not a surprise at all from Landry. I mean, seeing him in 7th was a surprise, but seeing his racecraft is not. He is one of those fast drivers that will make it happen, and he will make it happen safely in almost every scenario. So it's great to see him move up as far as he has, showing us just how good of a driver he can be when he wants to be.
He's got 3 cars already trying to swing back. Brian Slater in that red Ferrari trying to look for a way around. Looks to the outside, makes it go for the middle. Further back, we've got some movement. Mike Quant on the outside here will get 2 cars lost to him. First was Davin Sturdivant. After that, it looks like Mikhail Charles is trying to go around. Here comes Brian Slater to Michael Landry down the hill. Has good momentum. Looks to the outside. Can't find anywhere to put that red number 3 car.
Yeah, Slater he's doing a very good job of keeping on Landry's tail with these conditions. It's going to be a little easier. Landry's extremely fast in the dry, and he's very fast in the wet. So, Slater's got a little bit of an opportunity right now if he can keep close and keeping that rear view of Landry.
So up 2
Mikhail
positions
Charles
already
up in 10th.
for Landry. Yep, was about to say Mikhail Charles has already gained 7 positions as he's had his hell of an opening lap there. Further back, Keith Bull under attack right now from Brian Crane and Layla Martinez. Crane with good momentum here. What's he going to do here into turn number 2? Technically not turn 1 with that right-handed kink that Greg was talking about on the straight. So a drama-free opening corner. That's nice to see. We don't usually see that little drama, but some good moves from a couple of guys here in the opening rounds. Jorge Blasini Rivera also coming into the pits. I want to say he started on dry tires, would be my theory. We'll see if he continues there in that BMW. But it's Arjun
I'm looking
Lakshmi
at the replay
Narasimhan
now to see what happened.
with Joel Klaus.
Oh, he must have started on dry.
Yeah. Joel Klaus, Zach Martin, Amos Movo, Michael Landry, and Brian Slater right now rounding out your top 6. And Slater continues
Jorge,
on the move here.
So Jorge lost it had to be about 6 or 7 positions right out of the gate in the first lap. I got to think that he started on wets or on dries, and this is where setting your setup up correctly. And I know I said setup twice in the same sentence, but setting your setup up correctly, it's extremely important. With these unpredictable starting conditions, you want to be absolutely certain that you have every opportunity covered off.
Through Cheetah, Slater. Yep. Gotcha. Slater looking through a way through for Cheetah. Lost time there as we work our way through the final corner. Guys, I want to say that, of course, that move was obviously intended by Michael Landry, but I think he knows that he's got a little bit of an Achilles heel on race pace right now, so maybe making those risks earlier on and kind of making a roadblock for the rest of the grid here. Do we think that was an intentional choice?
Yes. And I can say that because the last time I raced Michael Landry here at Kyalami, he pulled that exact move on me. Exact move. He got a better start, took it 3 wide, had the confidence in the brakes, had the position, and made it work. It's a very wide part of the track.
And already entering the view of Michael Landry, enter Mikhail Charles up into 9th. This is almost let's see here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-car freight train. Almost make it 10 here as it stretches all the way back to the Mustang of Michael Kwan. And all of them kind of being held up by one another, but it's Landry up at the front right now. Joel Klaus still trying to dig on Arjun right now in the opening, but we're starting to get into a groove. Starting to see cracks up front from Michael Landry. Goes wide here through the top of the hill, working their way back down on Mount Mineshaft. Does Slater have the momentum?
Yeah, I think under these conditions, at the speeds they're doing at this point, a lot of folks are going to be thinking, well, it's early in the race, I don't want to risk it too much yet.
You say that, but Slater looking for any real estate he can get that Rosso Corsa red Ferrari to get through. But Landry is able to hook it up and get momentum. A little bit of drama further back there. That was Edriel Lugo Ortiz in that Mercedes. That's going to promote Mikhail up into 8th, I believe.
Yes.
It is.
And I see Edriel is getting, he's side by side with Sturdivant.
We see it now. Yep. Sturdivant with the lunge up onto the inside. This is for 10th.
This wasn't even a lunge. They were side by side in that whole straight. Yeah, he's just going slow there. He must have done something coming out of the final turn or out of the last sector that slowed him down. Go see if I can take a look.
Went a little bit wide through Cheetah, I believe. You can let me know when you get that, by the way, brother. So 3-car freight train further back for 10th right now between Sturdivant, Lugo, Ortiz, and Kwan. Further up ahead, Zach Martin wants that second place badly. He's right on the bumper of Joel Klaus. No moves quite yet from him, but it's the Raging Horse versus the Galloping Pony for second place right now. Just getting to 7 minutes in, and we are going for the win right now. 3-way battle for the lead. Big dive on the outside from Zach Martin, who lost it a little bit on the brakes. And it is already heating up here. Amos Movo trying to close the gap. The Kansas City kid in that Ferrari in no man's land right now. But this battle from these 3 up front is going to give Amos an opportunity. Big slide down mineshaft there from Amos Movo. Managed to keep the wheels on the right stuff. But a big moment of drama there from the 26. Zach Martin's got pace. Does he have anywhere to put it on Joel Klaus? Not quite.
Yeah, Edriel went wide out of Cheetah, went in the sand, and that toasted his opportunity to hold those positions off against both Sturdivant and Charles.
So that drops Lugo Ortiz from 7th down to 10th. New fastest lap from 5th is Michael Landry doing a 1:49 even. But he's still a good amount of real estate away from the top 3 right now. We're still in this big freight train. Greg, if you're still in here, Would you want to make moves right now? Would you want to go door to door, or would you be comfy with where you're running right now?
I mean, if you got the opportunity, you should always take it. As of now, we can only assume this rain's gonna stick around for a while. So, if you just hold position and maybe wait until conditions improve, you might be waiting a while. So, if you have the pace, you make something work. You might as well go for it.
We see that little minus, I think, on the top right there. 15 minutes out. I think that's gonna telling us maybe the rain is dying down slightly here 15 minutes out. I'm not entirely sure, but
yeah, it'll be reduced from what we see now, but it will still be rain.
So this is where strategy is going to become very, very big right now in a lot of ways, because again, not only being on the right tire to bring the fight on track, but when you pit and what tires you go to, you're going to have an opportunity to do the undercut or the overcut. I will say, especially if you're up front, you're going to necessarily, I don't know. I want your guys' thoughts on this. I like the overcut because with how packed up the field is behind you, you're almost guaranteeing yourself to be thrown into traffic further behind. So you might have pace, but you might have nowhere to put it if you get yourself on fresh rubber, but, spit yourself out here in 10th or 11th.
Correct. It's just something you just want to play by ear. Generally in the hot races, the undercut is very powerful. But yeah, like you mentioned, you got to still time it carefully. I've certainly had plenty of races ruined by coming out in the middle of traffic, and all that time I would have gained goes out the window.
Yeah, and we're speaking of hot. It is 40 degrees Celsius, which is 104 Fahrenheit. I mean, this climate right now is absolutely incredibly hot. We're abusing the tires, the engines. These cars are taking an absolute beating today.
Jacksonville weather here in South Africa. That always kind of came across as a joke for me of like, what if we got this like summer rain simulator? But yeah, we've talked about how much the rain tires are begging for mercy even on a cold track, but dry tires, as we're watching a little bit of a look to the inside here from Zach Martin. Stays to the bumper but can't get past. But what do you reckon the temps are even right now, guys? I mean, yes, it's raining right now, but those wet tires are so sensitive to track temperature, to tire temperature. How much are those tires begging for mercy right now?
I mean, if you set your car up right, your brake ducts are wide open, helping keep a little cooler air going past the tires, keeping the brakes a little cooler, keeping that entire subsystem a little cooler. So when I was doing laps around here earlier this week in these same conditions, I mean, the tires were getting warm, but they weren't getting incredibly warm to the point where I was concerned until the line starts drying out. And typically when we talk about wet races, we talk about that when the rain stops, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's time to switch to slicks, because the track is still damp. And as Michael Landry making a move on Amos Movo through turn one.
Textbook move here, a little bit of an opportunity for a switchback from Movo. Doesn't have the momentum to stay in the decision, but still trying to get to the bumper here. Still a good chance to at least stay hooked up to Landry. But a clean move as Landry was kind of able to clear that 4-car freight train further back, get to Movo and get himself up into 4th. He's got this lead pack just about 2.5 seconds in front. Movo not giving up too much of a fight quite yet, though.
If I'm a little further up the field and I see Michael Landry is suddenly the car behind me, I'm going to start to panic a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I panic, but I certainly say, well, this is going to be a be a thing.
If you're sitting behind somebody, oh, here we go.
Getting spicy here. Battle for 7th and back. Slater goes very wide. That'll let Hayne go through. McHale was looking for a way around as well. So Hayne takes the lead of this freight train right now, gets promoted to 6th. Slater drops down into 8th. But Mikhail Charles, who gets promoted to 7th, is looking for a way around right now. Slater wants that position back badly, working their way towards Cheetah. But that clean air for Carter Hayne is already trying to prove advantageous for that NSX. A little bit of drama there.
Yeah, I went back to the replay, and it looked like hard to delay looking to make sure Hayne didn't hit him. Hayne was a little early, and Slater just naturally went wide just from the pressure of Charles, being there. Greg mentioned it with Landry. When you see Landry as the car behind you, you certainly think, uh-oh. Mikhail Charles has a very similar dynamic. I mean, when you see him back there, you think, well, I'm going to have to work to defend this position.
Correct, but for slightly different reasons, I'd say.
Yes, I don't disagree.
Yeah. Mikhail is when he wants your spot, he'll let you know.
Yeah,
I've had plenty of good races with him, but he's very, very aggressive. Landry, he'll race you hard, but he'll always race you clean. Mikhail will maybe take a few more risks.
Michael Landry, by the way, already now within a second of this leading freight train. Zach Martin, Joel Klaus, and Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan. But we're talking about this aggression of Mikhail Charles. We were throwing the prediction out here before the start of the race. We knew this was going to go one of two ways for Mikhail. Either a Michael Schumacher, an Ayrton Senna-esque drive to the front here like the European Grand Prix, or we're going bowling in here in Kyalami. He's kept it very, very clean thus far, found the right moments to pass, and he's actually kind of backed out right now. He's feeling the heat from Brian Slater. Goes a little bit wide there. Yeah. I almost jinxed it there as he got a little bit loose on the curving. Now Slater's going to get an opportunity back. This might be the first position that Charles loses today. Slater looks to the inside, down the front straightaway, tucks back in now.
I mean, that BMW, the way Mikhail drives it is a monstrosity of speed. Seeing that, I don't really think Brian had a chance. I love Brian, but I mean, that was he's going to have to get Mikhail into a corner or out of a corner immediately like he almost did there.
Correct.
No, go on, Greg.
No, I spent some time in the 296 when it first came out. It's very fast in the corners. It lacks a bit on top speed. So, especially compared to the BMW, that was a hard pass to make there.
Yeah. Welcome to the top four, Michael Landry, who has come out of the gate swinging. He's already right on the gearbox of that Mustang of Zach Martin. What sticks out to me about Landry is just how comfortable he is on these different kind of surfaces, especially in these conditions. He runs so much curb and is so bold, looks to the inside of Martin, and actually he's kind of sold the dummy there. He'll go wide as it's a battle now of who can get more traction down towards Mineshaft, side by side going down the hill. Who's got more ponies? On paper it's Zach Martin, but BOP is giving it to Michael Landry. This is beautiful stuff between them. Tries the over-under here at the bottom of the hill. Some really good racing between these two. Zach Martin continues to hang on. A little bit wide from Zach Martin. Can't quite clear him. This battle continues to rage on, working their way through Cheetah. But going back to my discussion, gentlemen, yep, on the way to the front straight, but... Oh, trouble! Oh, my goodness!
Oh, and there's big contact.
Oh, my goodness, Greg Katsadurian, the alarm has just gone up. That man just got absolutely Dale Earnhardted by Michael Landry. Oh, my goodness.
That's unfortunate. Fortunately, I am not screwing tonight, so I don't got to deal with it.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I'm going back to the replay to take a look at this and see exactly what happened. Was this Martin? He slows, and Landry throttled, and I gotta say, yeah, I think we know what the steward decision is going to be.
Yeah, so as a resident Mustang enjoyer, its biggest weakness is drive out of corners, especially slow corners. So compared to McLaren, which is very good at that sort of stuff, it's entirely possible. Zach was going as fast as he possibly could out of that corner, yeah. But McLaren is just so much better, and he just misjudged the closing gap or closing distance.
Yeah, I think it was just expecting, Martin to carry more speed on the exit there, and certainly not intentional. Zach Martin, nobody here at NASRS is the kind of guy to do that. But I think it was just a misjudgment of speed, getting on the gas a little bit too early, and I mean, obviously it's a racing incident and Landry's at fault, but that's a hard thing to suddenly realize. And you know, if there's a checkup, if there's a blip on the traction control for you to back out, there's not a lot of time to react and correct there.
Well, and especially, you know, the big thing is that I got to say is if I'm Michael Landry, I think I would have been a little more cautious there, only because I know that there's only 2 races left, including this one in the championship. Charles is leading. Landry needs to do his best in every single one of them, and it's an unnecessary risk. I personally, I think that was something that Landry, he should have known better.
2 coaches going at it here. Brian Slater went wide at the bottom of the hill. That's given Sturdivant the opportunity to go right to him. Tucks in for the slipstream. Looks to the outside here into turn number 2. Side by side. Who's going to go on the anchors last? Almost touching doors. Slater going as far outside as possible. Rushes to that apex. That's going to give the switchback over to Sturdivant. Script flips, though. Some really, really good defense here from the Canadian Brian Slater as he is defending that 7th position and living off of those mistakes. Here comes Sturdivant now with the second chance. Looks to the outside. This is a fast right-hander. It's going to be a hard turn to get it done. Oh my goodness, side by side. Nearly banging doors. They do touch mirrors. You wish you trusted your girl the way Davin Sturdivant is trusting that NSX right now. Gets to the inside of Brian Slater and gets his way up into 7th. A flash of the headlights saying, hey, that was ballsy from Brian Slater, but 7th place to Sturdivant. Textbook stuff.
Yeah, and it's been confirmed a 15-second penalty for Landry for that move. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody here or watching. But, I mean, Sturdivant and Slater, they have an absolute monstrosity of trust between each other. We saw really close, hard racing there and no unnecessary entanglements. I mean, that just shows how classy that these guys are when they're driving.
Yeah, they're both going to be smiling very wide right now.
Yeah.
They've probably rehearsed that exact move numerous times in practice earlier this week.
IHOP, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
15-second penalty. Landry's going to probably come into the box and serve that, although if this is anything like we saw at Monza, I reckon he's got the pace to serve that in the box and still absolutely be in contention.
If I'm Landry, I've just taken the position from Arjun, though you got to wonder how much of that Arjun gave up. I'm actually going to go back and look for that because I'm curious how he got past as we were watching Slater and Sturdivant fight. But if I'm Landry, I don't know. This is a tough one. I think I'm going to try and put as much pace on as I can. So he's close. He's close. He loses a little bit of traction on the rear coming around the hairpin.
Yeah, lucky he didn't give that position to Klaus as well there because he was looking eager to pounce and take that provisional lead.
He still is. Wow.
But further back right now, Mikhail Charles is looking to get his way into 4th right now. Amos Movo goes wide here as they're working their way down the hill towards Crocodile through Mineshaft. As the pace. He also missed the move there where he cleared Carter Payne for 5th and where he was able to take that position.
I will go find that. Asking ye shall receive. Don't worry.
I appreciate it. Just let me know when you're ready, because I can't see that replay screen over here. So I just got to know when you got it.
Yeah, I think.
Way around to Arjun. What's up?
I think if I'm Landry, I'm thinking right now, just put as much pace in as we can, because he knows he's got enough pace that he can make that 15-second penalty almost not even matter. So we're getting to the move on Carter from Mikhail, so they're coming around. Oh, I need a track map for this.
Look at the replay now. Oh, that's textbook Mikhail.
Yeah. That's that moment. Yeah, Greg talks about it. He says Mikhail will be aggressive. Yep. And Mikhail absolutely telling Carter, that's mine. I'll take that.
Yep.
We're gonna need another replay because as we looked at that one, Mikhail has now cleared Amos Movo for 4th. And what I'd imagine would be the same textbook stuff. Yeah, we got you working a lot. Ooh, Movo gets loose, but gathers it back up.
I've got this one going, so they're coming around again. I gotta get better at learning these turns from just looking at them. So Mikhail behind Movo. This is again, is that the? No, that's not the hairpin. This is coming up out of 6, I want to say, or 7. Yep, because here's that left hand going down the hill a little bit, the right hand going up the hill. I'm gonna guess he does it in the hairpin again, Mikhail. Come on.
If it's where they're comfortable, it's where they're gonna lunge.
And he, if there's, he's got a clean exit.
He's probably setting it up for Crocodile.
Yeah, this is going to be a Crocodile takeover. Snakes on a plane, crocodiles in the marina. Oh yeah, he's closing. He says, "Okay, I see your line. Your line's not as good as my line." He says, "I'm faster. Just let me by. Let this mustard BMW go vroom."
Movo being thrown to the wolves here as we're watching this replay. By the way, he's still within distance of Charles, but he's got Carter Hayne and Sturdivant, the 2 Hondas, all over that Ferrari's mirrors right now.
Yeah, and I swear I found it, but I'm missing it.
You're doing great. By the way, we missed some more.
There it is.
Oh, go back like 10 seconds. Wait, go back. I'm on live. Oh, beans. All right.
Oh man, that was classic Mikhail. Thank you. Goodbye.
Turn. Oh yeah.
Turn 1.
Had a
Turn
good
1.
chance at a
Movo
dummy
put
there.
up a fight. They got close, but Mikhail said, "Nope. This is mine. Let me put it right here." Yep.
As we say that,
Classic Mikhail.
Sturdivant gets it done again, and that long, fast right-hander cleared Carter Hayne. So everyone's got those confidence corners. It's mineshaft for Mikhail, and it's that long, sweeping right-hander. Again, this is one of those tracks where I also can't remember the names, but he got past Brian Slater earlier on. He did it again on the inside this time to get by Carter Hayne and get himself up into 6th.
Carter got caught out by Movo. So Carter gets caught out by Movo, lets Davin get side by side with him. And then this is going to be 6, 7, somewhere in there. Yep, Movo does a spin, and
Movo's
Davin.
still in front. That's a done deal. A little bit of drama, though, from Movo as he's been struggling to get momentum. He goes wide here at Crocodile. This will give Davin an opportunity to pounce.
Yeah, the NSXs, both these guys are super comfortable today. They're hoping this rain stays up.
We were talking about it in qualifying, Greg, but this is kind of the best environment that these NSXs could be in. NSXi? NSXs.
Absolutely. Yeah. When it's wet like this, even if it's not pouring, it's just kind of light wet. It is by far and away the best car in these conditions.
Looks to the over-under. Sturdivant carrying the Mo. Now looks to the outside. There isn't a line that Sturdivant won't run to get by someone. Every single corner is a science experiment, and it's paid off for him. Up into 5th now for Davin Sturdivant. A great drive. Carter Hayne gonna get a chance now, but a big lunge on the brakes now from Movo. Will keep that 296 and keep that momentum through the fast right-hander as they work their way up the hill. But another great move from Sturdivant, who, he treats it the way a racing driver should, which looks beyond the braking points, sees the momentum of the car, and kind of looks of ways to kind of carry that, and has never put it the wrong way, at least when I've seen him drive.
Yeah, there's a reason why he's a coach.
Yeah. I mean, Davin talks about 2 things a lot when it comes to passing. The first is sizing up your opponent. He is, every time you're in front of him and behind him, he's paying attention to you. You don't know it, but he's watching you, and he's waiting, and he's looking, and he's saying, okay, that's not the line, which means that this corner becomes a checkbox that he's going to look to see if he can mark off.
Movo went a little bit deep on the brakes there. I think maybe got a little bit of contact with Sturdivant. That's given Carter Hayne the opportunity to just barely clear Movo there and work his way down. So Movo on the way back in R2 NSXs on the move forward here in South Africa.
That was a very, very good move that he pulled there. Didn't really get to mention it in qualifying, but Cheetah I like to call that Sansa Corner, which is the South African National Space Agency. Because if you touch the inside yellow curb, you will go into orbit.
Oh yes,
so to try and secure a move going too wide, that takes a lot of guts.
Yeah. And you know, Carter is a smooth driver. We see him drive every week, and he's just it's almost like he's not even really concerned about, you know, the driving. He's just kind of here, and he's just driving his car, and he says, I'm going fast, I'm going around the track. And so when people make mistakes, he's just like, oh, let's see if I can make it work. Why not?
On the bonnet of Joel Klaus here, it was put that Huracan exactly where he's wanted it to, and is playing the patient game. We might have a fully wet race on us right now. It's going to be with us at least until 15 minutes to the checkered now. Should be amping up in about 5 minutes. So after we got a almost entirely damp stint in Monza, we're going to have a pretty dank one here in Kyalami. First and third into the pits. Michael Landry going to go into the sin bin and serve his 15-second penalty.
Yeah, I don't think Landry's
Joel Klaus
concerned.
gonna
I know.
follow
I know we talk about.
He shouldn't be at all. He was what, almost 9 seconds up when he came in. Yeah.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, Greg. Time penalties can be served in front of a normal pit stop.
Correct. I believe it gives you the option. You can either serve it in your pit stop, or you can just carry it all the way to the end and it'll get added afterwards.
Does it need to be treated as 2 separate trips to the pit lane, or can you just serve it?
Not if it's a time penalty.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, if it's a drive-through or a stop-go, yeah, it doesn't need to be a separate trip.
If it's mentioned as a stop-go penalty, you've got to do your own trip to serve that.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Somebody we haven't talked about, Zach Martin, is missing.
I think he threw in the towel.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and I was going back to look to see what happened to him.
Well, we know what happened to him. I think that
might have been enough for him to call it. Yeah.
Yeah, with the challenging conditions and not really being put in championship contention, I can't say I blame him.
Yeah, I'm looking now, and it looks
especially tough in the wet.
Yeah.
And that was what we were talking about a lot at the Nürburgring. And I don't want to step on you too much here, Elliot, but you guys have seen Landry drive a lot more than I have. It wasn't intentional by any means, but that's certainly an uncharacteristic move we saw from Michael Landry there.
Yeah, and I'm seeing Jorge has also thrown in the towel. Was there another incident, or was it just he was unsatisfied with his race?
Yeah, I think he might have just known he was on the wrong strategy there. So our next top 2 work their way into the pit lane as well. Arjun Lakshminarasimhan, Mikhail Charles. This could be your one stop here.
And because another driver that's mysteriously vanished.
Just talking strategy here, Greg. If the rain stops with 15 to go, it's going to be a stretch, but could you hypothetically run it to the end there if the track dries out?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if the choice is burn out this set of wets until they're on the verge of blowing up or make another stop, you're gonna stretch them as long as they can go.
Oh, yeah.
Because even if it stops raining for that 15 minutes, there's still going to be moisture on the track for quite a while after. You can kind of pull offline, find some puddles, extend that life as long as you possibly can. And if you have to, you can absolutely make that work.
Oh, guys, look at the front here really quick. Sorry, look at the front of Amos Movo. I think there might have been an incident there we might have not seen, but some major damage to the front of that 296. Let's talk really quick.
Nothing car to car got locked for that, so it might have been a mistake somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was watching some replays. Jackman has retired as well. Looks like he had a spin coming up the hill, and that unfortunately put him in a position where he just it wasn't worth continuing any further, it looks.
Halfway home here at Kyalami, we're going to step away really quickly and leave you guys with the sights and sounds of South Africa. It's round number 6, triple underline it, here for the North American Sim Racing Series. Stay with us. "30 minutes to go here in Kyalami, round number 6 of the North American Sim Racing Series, season 26, season 23. I can't count today. I'm Jackson Lambros, joined by Elliot Brown, Greg Katzadarian, Edrio Lugo Ortiz leads provisionally, but your top 3 is yet to pit. A couple of leapfrogs here in the pits, as we mentioned. Further back, we're watching one payoff. Carter Hayne with the undercut had that work out, but up front, provisional lead is going to go to Joel Klaus, who also tried the overcut, had it work, and he has beaten Arjun Lakshminarasimhan in the pits. He's trying to cut through this lap traffic, gets by Brian Crane. I say lap traffic, it's for position, but it's guys on older tires. So provisional lead will go to Joel Klaus. What can Arjun Lakshminarasimhan do to potentially reel him back in?
Yeah, and so just so everybody's aware, we have been giving Jackson a lot of crap in the side room about counting today.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
It is round 7.
It's round.
Apparently. That's what we learned.
It's week. Next week will be week 7 for the first time because the race got postponed. I was saying that because that was on my mind. This is week 6, but it's round 5.
There we go.
We're doing round 1 next week on week 7.
But it's round 6, week 6, but race 5. Right?
That makes sense, everybody?
It's confusing, but so far list of retirements, we've had Casey Jackman, we've had Layla Martinez, we've had Zach Martin, and we have had I forgot the last one.
Casey Jackman. Did you already say Jackman?
I said Jackman. Jorge Blasini Rivera, who I think Jorge and Jackman, it was both just the race wasn't that much fun for them, so they rather than be miserable the whole time, they just kind of took it out. Both Casey and Layla Martinez had incursions into a wall, and it looks like that has caused them to want to leave, and Zach Martin had that obvious spin from Landry that ruined his opportunity on podium.
Joel Klaus has
which is unfortunate.
Yeah, Joel Klaus has used this opportunity to absolutely take off. Arjun Lakshmi now looking for a way around. Goes the deep side right now, trying to get around Brian Crane. He's in a hurry to rush around him because it's Michael Landry behind him. Oh, big trouble. I don't know if there was contact between them, but Arjun got loose, and it looks like Brian Crane in that. Oh my goodness, the rain's absolutely turned up. We've seen drama further up. You've got that BMW of Keith Bull going off, and the wick has been absolutely turned up on the rain here, as seemingly everyone's lost traction at the same time.
Yeah, I'm watching Arjun and Brian Crane. Oh yeah, Crane and Arjun both were a little bit over throttle coming out of the hairpin, and Crane. Hold on, let me back up for you, Jackson.
Thank you.
So watch both cars. Both cars make the same move. There was no contact.
Oh my goodness.
They
So
both made the same over throttle move, but Arjun corrected and Crane didn't quite get it corrected.
So synchronized drifting going on there to affect both Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan, and I believe it was Brian Crane who now comes to pit lane. And these are your top three on screen provisionally. Edril Lugo Ortiz still to come into the pits, but it is raining harder than anywhere or anytime else this season here in Kyalami. And guys are starting to feel it, and it's just the start of it. We've got even more rain piling up here in 5 minutes. So I'm starting to get into this mentality, Greg, where even if we do see some dry track here with 10 minutes to go, we've got only 15 cars on track now. The rain is only stacking up, and the water on track is only getting higher. I don't think we're going to have a fully dry track here, even if we see a stoppage in rain here with 10 to go.
Yeah, not a chance. I think there's no coincidence that both the cars you saw have off tracks just now. Were extending their first stint, and they're on much older tires.
Oh, big slide! Arjun Lakshmi does the parallel rejoin, and that's going to give that position up to Michael Landry. So
Yeah, and
it's
Charles
Landry
had a
v.
spin at the
Klaus.
same time. Or not quite a spin, but he had a drift. It's at this point with the rain, it's absolutely going to be wets to the end. It's not even a question.
100%. And I looking at the level of rain that's coming, I wouldn't be surprised if the track goes flooded for a bit. So
Yeah,
this is
it's
definitely going to be like the worst conditions we've seen so far this week, if not definitely this season.
Yep. Was curious what TC Arjun was running in the chat from Nitten 4 is your answer there. As I just checked the normal broadcast screen for you there, Mr. Murphy. Edril Lugo Ortiz in. Everybody's come to the pit lane at this point. So that means it is Joel Klaus versus Landry.
laundry.
God,
No, you already
laundry.
started it.
It is indeed laundry day here at Kyalami.
I'm telling him that you did it, and this is the way it is.
There's too many good puns you can do.
Yeah, I know.
With
Michael
Landry,
Laundry,
right?
come on.
hanging him out to dry, doing the spin cycle here.
Yeah.
There's too
it's-
many.
it's
I'm
been-
sorry.
And I saw a plus on the radar. It is going to be absolutely pouring here in a couple moments, so this is going to be
Oh, mama.
oof, big oof.
So the question for me now, Landry remains to be the fastest man on track. Although we look at last lap times right now, Joel did a 1:53.5, Landry did a 54.3. Landry's consistently been the fastest guy on track. Could we see Landry snatch that lead from Joel Klaus? Another big Tokyo drift. Around goes Arjun as the rain comes again. Oh my goodness, great evasion
Crane
there
almost.
from Brian
Yeah,
Crane.
Crane.
Oh man.
Oh, that was terrifying.
All right, your Code Brown moment there for Brian Crane as he almost collects Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan. And this is going to give Mikhail Charles an opportunity to strike. Monsoon weather here in South Africa.
This might be the time to mention that when the track gets a certain level of wet, mine shaft is no longer flat out. I think we're starting to get to that point.
We are absolutely. I think we've been in that point for about 5 minutes, but the guys are now starting to realize that.
Yeah, the rest of the field is learning what Greg believes is blatantly obvious, which is slow down. I love it. It's incredible. I mean, so far, big winner, Mikhail Charles, coming up 13 positions. No surprise there. He said, I showed up to race, and race I will. Up to 4 retirements. And right now, currently on track, the biggest loser is unfortunately Amos Movo, who is 7 down from where he started due to an error that caused him to sustain some serious front-end damage on that Ferrari. His number 11 was just off track.
Not Debian.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I think we got trouble for Joel Klaus. Yes, he's got around. Lead goes to Michael Landry and drama for the Muffin Team Rocket Machine. Oh my goodness, what's happened here? Looks like a little bit of damage to the front bumper. Oh my.
And Joel was doing such a good job.
In a race that has been just all about keeping it on the right stuff, it's gone wrong for Joel Klaus.
And I have what had happened there, and I mean, again, the rain is it's really throwing a monkey wrench into these things as he goes a little bit wide, loses grip, spins, touches the wall,
Gets onto that
spins some
concrete.
more. I mean, fortunately, he did not make a traffic hazard. That is something that, you know, Greg, you talk about it a lot in the debriefs and the pre-race briefings. You talk about how, you know, be safe when you are in a position where you're off track, when you're rejoining, and, you know, it's something that we really harp on here because it's very easy to ruin somebody else's race as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the least desirable things about racing in pub lobbies is just a complete disregard for people behind you as you're trying to rejoin, or, you know, if you have a little excursion. So yeah, it's something that is very harshly penalized if you rejoin at the wrong time and cause further issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you talk about every single steward briefing. You talk about the penalties that you will give people for rejoining unsafely, and that, I mean, I think it's fair. It's well deserved, because if you are in a condition where your car is compromised, don't further compromise others, right? I mean, it's just politeness.
Brian Crane broadside here at the end of that long right-hander. He's going to back out of it. He's got the 12 right now approaching of Michael Kwan, and will get that refired. So a relatively drama-free incident for the McLaren. But as we see here in the top right, we've mentioned it is actually going to stop raining here with about 5 minutes to go on the clock.
Yeah, that won't change anything.
He's saying they're going to have to stop again. If it stopped now, maybe. With 5 minutes to go, I don't think that's going to be a factor.
Yeah, I wouldn't even think about it. I would just continue on with my day. I mean, at that point, the track's going to be so wet that, yeah, Brian Crane slid sideways through sunset, and that absolutely devastating.
So dealing with more opposite lock than a USAC sprint car right now for these guys. That rain's going to start to die down as soon as 5 minutes away. But a little bit of front end damage right now for Joel Klaus. I don't think he's at a speed right now where aerodynamic downforce is really helping too much. But he's going to lose that pace over time. So can Arjun take back third? Can Mikhail get into that podium spot? And I don't want to throw this out into the galaxy as a commentator. Landry has made mistakes this season. We've seen it at Bathurst. Could we
Don't do it, Jackson. Come on.
Could we see? We got to ask. Could we see a ditto of what Joel Klaus did? You got to throw it out
Jack,
there.
clip that.
You can clip it.
It is possible.
I mean this
hope
with
not.
all of the respect to Michael Landry, and I'm not saying he's going to spin. It would make for a much more interesting race.
It would make it interesting. It would make it,
No.
No. I agree. Please don't, Michael.
I'm gonna stop talking right now. Over to Mikhail Charles, trying to dig on Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan. Had that as close to within a second. He's backed out now to about 12. I don't think anyone's going to be looking forward to this track drying out more than this man right here.
Yeah, I mean, so here's an interesting statistic. I'm looking at the timing screen. Brian Crane, currently last on track, is at the same position he qualified in. He has not lost, and he cannot lose at this point.
Yeah.
Incredible. Keith Bolt, Don Debian, even if they were to completely wipe out at this point, they are still 3 positions up from where they were. The worst that can happen is they lose another 1 position for Keith, 2 positions for Don. I mean, if I'm on the track at this point, I just continue on no matter what happens. This is, everybody out here wins, except, you know, maybe Movo is the only person that, but still, I mean, he's going to gain points. He's going to gain work in the championship. As few drivers as there were that showed up, and as much chaos as there has been, everybody's a winner today.
I mean, this is definitely a race where final thing of reach, right? Current objective, survive. Andrew Lugo
Yes.
Ortiz not doing great at that right now. We're even... Oh, it's bottom of mine shaft. Gotten that
Mine
AMG,
shaft.
Gotten that, or whatever it is. I forget what it's called. He's gotten that rejoined. He's got Amos Movo in his mirrors right now.
You forgot the AMG? The Mercedes AMG that Edriel's driving? Come on, Jackson.
Oh yeah, my bad, son.
I'm just kidding.
Movo
I'm giving you
almost
crap.
killing Edriel there with a late lunge on the brakes. They continue going right now. This is pretty much your only battle on track right now, as everyone's kind of spread out at this point. Gap right now from Landry to Klaus is about 7 seconds. Arjun 5 seconds back after that. Davin Sturdivant, Carter Hayne potentially getting closer together right now. But Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan actually gaining on Mikhail Charles for the time being.
I mean, it's the current battle between cars that are racing for position right now, but overall, everybody is battling with this track at the moment. The heat, the rain, every single driver on this track is battling, whether it's with themselves or with another car.
Interesting to point out as well, I believe everyone is still got a whole, I believe, 12 cars on the lead lap right now. Keith Colby in that cutout, or that cut, as both him and Brian Crane were involved in some incidents, but relatively good pace from the field as a whole here, as rain is always, the grand equalizer when it comes to those sorts of things. And we had everybody within 10 seconds of one another, it seemed like, for the first half of this race. But despite the drama, I mean, it's hard to think of anyone that wouldn't be struggling with the rain that was thrown at these guys today.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, we talk about the drama, but to be completely frank, we've had fewer incidents in this race than any other race yet this season. Now, part of that's going to be the fewer number of cars on track, but the fact that we've only had 5 total incidents and only 1 penalty, I mean, this has been the cleanest race we've seen from a car-on-car violence standpoint. However, a car-on-track violence standpoint, those aren't logged, and so I gotta wonder how much of that is.
Greg, maybe you can take this to your people, but maybe monsoon-like conditions in 105-degree Fahrenheit feet is kind of the solution we've been looking for cleaner racing.
When it comes to, cleaner racing, right?
About that. I think if we throw this at people every week, they're going to quit.
I don't know, man.
This is, so we have, like as you mentioned, this is the dedicated hot race.
Right.
Because some of the variable weather we had planned for wasn't quite the level that I guess Stefan had wanted, he kind of threw this into the mix for this race as like an added bonus. It's the trade-off is that it's not as hot as it has been in the past.
Yeah.
So that definitely.
How hot has
helps.
it gotten traditionally, guys? Because again, it got up to the 40s here in Celsius. I know we had a really big hot one at Barcelona, but what if you guys remember off the dome, like how hot has it gotten?
Yeah, I've seen it upwards of 60.
Oh my goodness!
And that was at, I believe it was at Laguna Seca.
Oh my gosh.
That was torture.
Yeah.
Because like no matter what you could do, like, I mean, the trick of opening up your brake ducts to get as much heat out as possible, that just wasn't enough.
Yeah, it didn't even matter.
Literally, yeah. It within like a lap, your tires are screaming at you, and you just kind of had to deal with it. So, in one way, these conditions aren't as bad as they could be, but the rain has definitely made it significantly more tricky than was planned.
Yeah.
But we get to make up next week at Spa as Goldilocks weather. Be nice and clear and dry.
Oh my goodness, yes, and that's setting the stage right now for what is going to be a very, very dramatic finale, I'd imagine, to season 23. You've had guys that have been knocking on the podium all year long, waiting for that opportunity. We're getting the stage set very well right now for what could be a title fight between Landry and Charles. Although Charles has responded really, really well here, and Landry counting his drop round could mean it's not too much of a contest. We'll have to wait and see. But I think this is going to be a very, very close, down-to-the-wire fight between Landry and Charles come Spa.
Oh, yeah. I think Spa will be the title fight, which is actually kind of nice because it's nice that the title fight's going to be a nice, perfect weather because it'll be straight on, pure who is the best. There will be no weather to help your case or hurt it. It'll just be you will either be the best driver or not.
Yeah. Shout out to Jorge in chat doing the American unit conversion there. 140 degree Fahrenheit Sahara temperatures in the Bay Area. I wouldn't call that realistic, but I would call it certainly
I think it was
something Gavin would do. But yeah, I mean that's track temps too. But
yeah, if I remember right, it was track temps, and the narrative we came up with was that it was wildfire season.
Oh yeah, Nick just said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not how. As the Californian here, that's not how wildfire season works. The temperature absolutely helps. But we would need to have, cars being pushed an extra 3 feet off the apex because of the wind for it to actually be wildfire season.
True. We do have that. We only have light wind today. I mean, this is barely chop.
Yeah. I forget we even have wind there in the top right. I know that can be a factor. If it's going in, you can maybe chuck it a little bit later up on the brakes. It can obviously affect the top speed, but that's never been something. I don't even think that's been a factor we've really talked about in our track walks, in our briefings, because it's more often than not enough of a factor.
Well, and we don't go crazy with the wind. It's not that it's not a factor as much as we just keep the wind tame. Once you start getting above, I think it was 12 or 13 kph was kind of the magic number, that once you start getting above that, the wind actually becomes a mild to moderate factor. So it's just that we always keep it low enough that it almost doesn't matter, as we now see the clouds show up at the 5 minutes to go mark in our forecast. So we'll get about 5 minutes of not pouring rain in the race. That tracks. That seems appropriate.
Gotta throw a question in here. Carter Hayne within 2.5 seconds.
I'll send it.
Mikhail Charles. Conditions are gonna dry here. It could potentially go his way. Oh, more trouble for Richie Wood.
Oof.
Gets that plus 15 covered. McLaren back running. Does have a donut. I don't know about that for a safe rejoin, but he doesn't have too many people around him, so we'll allow it.
Yeah, the safe rejoin is not rejoining in traffic right in front of other drivers in a way that's going to harm other drivers' races. If there's no other drivers, I mean, I don't think Greg really cares.
Nothing wrong with that. Yep.
Yeah. Charles still on the hunt for a podium.
4 seconds back from Arjun right now. I kind of want to call that dead. But we'll have to wait and see. He's still in his sights here as he works his way up the hill. I'm more curious to see what Carter Hayne and Davin Sturdivant can do against Mikhail right now. Because if I know Mikhail, he's probably got that car tuned up. He has that set for the weather. You can see how much that's bouncing there going down the hill. I feel like he's either going to have big gains or big losses here as the track starts to dry out.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting. I think right now Sturdivant and Hayne are just going to kind of count their blessings and take a sixth and fifth respectively home.
No, absolutely.
I mean, unless Mikhail makes a substantial mistake, I don't see either of them pushing extraordinarily hard, because they know that the conditions are drying, and these, as the conditions dry, as the track dries out, they know that the NSX isn't necessarily the best car to be in on dry weather, so they're just going to, I see him just doing full management at this point.
He was knocking on the door of it, Charles was. He was nearly full opposite lock going through Cheetah. Huge slide there in the penultimate corner. And again, Charles is a guy that likes the cars loose, but I don't know if that loose is the answer. Joel Klaus is another guy that really likes a soft setup car. We saw that kind of go too much his way as he lost it and gave that lead over to Landry.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that his chances at a win went out that way, but he's been gone for a while. He's had, I think, some hardware problems at home. So, I don't want to pick favorites or anything like that, but I'm very glad to see him back with us. I've raced with him a bunch.
Yeah.
He is very fast, and he is a fantastic racer, so very glad to see him up here and doing well.
Been on and off here in the North American Sim Racing Series. As you mentioned, Greg, some sim racing overhauls that have kept him away from the seat as he's been upgrading his rig. But you turn back the clock a couple years, and before it was Landry versus Charles, it was Landry Kachadurian versus Klaus versus Butkus, and definitely a part of, it's hard to call it the old guard when it was just a couple years ago, a couple months ago, realistically. But, I mean, the guy has absolutely hit the ground running, and whenever he jumps back in this Lamborghini, it's like he never even left. It's been like riding a bike for him.
Yeah, he's one of those names that's been around for quite a while. Certainly in some of my earliest races here, I remember getting absolutely mugged by Michael Landry and him as well. He was one of the ones that you kind of strive to get on their level and be competitive with.
Speaking of getting mugged, you are one of the drivers around the group now who is considered incredibly fast and the benchmark. Is it true that Davin put you on stewarding duty to keep you from racing him? What better way to keep Greg Kachadurian from decimating him every race than to make him a steward?
Oh my god.
Well, so the opportunity arose. Back in the day, we had multiple kind of pro splits. We'd race on Tuesday and Wednesday night. So there were chances for me to race and help steward. And, being a longtime member of this community, I wanted to give back in some ways. So I kind of dabbled with it. I had assisted stewarding a few times, and just kind of reached a point. Kind of recently, I'm just kind of ready to move on from this game. So I just kind of took it as an opportunity to give Vilpo a break, because he does most of the stewarding as in the admin roles. We've got assistants, we've got Ryan and we got David as well that help a ton, but he needed a break, and I was like, yeah, I'll step in. So we may take turns going forward, but
you look at where the timeline of this game is at, and it's certainly nearing its end, as a lot of guys are starting to make that move for Le Mans Ultimate. Almost a bit of a tap there between Slater and Quint. We got Ford versus Ferrari going on here with 5 minutes to go as we finally see the sun in South Africa. Big lunge there from Slater at the bottom of the hill. Almost made contact, almost did the same. I think we do need to talk about the migrating brake system in this Ferrari, which has absolutely helped Slater tonight in the rain. But the electronics that Slater's talked about in this Ferrari has made it so easy to drive, especially in conditions like this.
Yeah, it's a very easy car. It's forgiving, but at the same time, to extract the most out of it, you've got to wrestle that thing. On the limit, it drives more like a prototype. So all your speed comes in the corners, and the insane cornering speeds that you're able to obtain compared to the other cars makes it a little difficult when you have a Mustang in front of you that would, physics speaking, would win in every fight.
Right.
And it's a little down on power, not quite as good out of corners, but still better than the Mustang in that regard. Ryan definitely smells blood right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. And what a comeback drive for both of these guys. Michael Quant looking to go back-to-back top 10s here after I want to say eighth place finish at Monza last week. And Brian Slater has been dealt some hard cards. Big slide there from Quant. This is going to give Slater an opportunity as they work their way down the hill.
That's about normal for a Mustang.
Pretty normal for the Mustang, right? Looking for maybe an over-under here at the bottom of the hill. No contact between them this time. But Slater's got that Ferrari hooked up. Where is he going to put that Ferrari this time? Through Cheetah. And Quant able to get the power down on that teal and white Mustang. Keeps it on 7th for the time being. with 2 minutes to go. So about 2 more laps and a couple more chances for Slater to take this spot.
I saw another retirement in Amos Movo. Looks like he had another spin and said, I think I've had enough of this weather today.
Yep. So down to 13 cars. And even if we were going to get the track dried out here at the checkered, it wouldn't be for long, as rain would be coming again here in 15 minutes. You guys can see that on your screens. By the way, Mikel Charles closing that gap. I'll show you guys telemetry here as Slater tries to close in on one. Mikel Charles closing that gap now just within a second of Arjun in fourth. We'll jump over to that battle if that gets more interesting. But right now the big one on track is for 7th. Between these two, a little bit wide there from Slater. As both of these guys throwing everything they've got. With just a couple of minutes remaining, 60 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, I think Arjun's got third locked in unless he makes a major mistake. With the rain having subsided and the track drying out, none of these drivers are on dries. We know that, so I think this is about how it's going to land.
That gap keeps coming down, though.
It
Between
does.
Mikel and Arjun.
It does, but is it enough? I mean, we got 40 seconds on the clock. We got
This is going to be the last lap.
Yeah, we got a second and a half between them still, as it just went back up from 1 second the previous sector. So
With Mikel, all things are possible.
This is true.
If there's anybody who can do it.
This is true. So we'll stay on this battle for now. But Michael Landry, who was put in a 15-second hole after colliding with Zach Martin, has somehow, someway found his way back to the front, executed perfectly on strategy. Joel Klaus had a very good shot at the lead. He kind of threw it away himself, unfortunately, with a spin, but will absolutely be happy with a second place finish, considering it's his first time back in a handful of months. Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan won't go back-to-back for victories. He'll stand on the podium again if he can hold off Mikel Charles. That's within a second right now. But it is going to be all eyes on this man from New Brunswick, Canada. He was absent in the opening round at Alton Park. He had a little bit of drama. He's been put in a hole not just in this race, but in the championship fight. And he has executed perfectly to stay in conversation for the championship come Spa. Out of the final corner for the last time, Michael Landry has survived the South African storm. He's going to win here in week 6 at Kyalami.
Charles is only 8/10 off Arjun. He might have been right, Greg. He's pushing.
Goes for a rally. Nope, goes for a rally, and
oof.
that'll be ball game for him. Might be an opportunity to strike from Carter Hayne. As he goes wide, we might see an opportunity from Hayne. Oh, not close enough. Third for Arjun, fourth for Charles, fifth for Hayne, sixth for Sturdivant. What about Brian Slater and Richie Wood? These guys coming down the final corner for the final time. Mustang likes to go around here. Not enough. Quant holds on, goes from 8th at Monza to 7th at South Africa. Brian Slater is going to finish in 8th. And an absolute drama of a race here goes to Michael Landry. We'll get the whole podium and a couple others. Stay with us. Joined by your top three here. Let's start off with your defending winner from Monza, but third place finisher, Arjun Lakshmi Narasimhan. Arjun, I felt like everything was executed. I think the opinion from the booth was a very well executed race on your end, but just not a lot you could do in pace in terms of the competition here. Walk me through your race today.
I mean, I guess I'll start with quality. I got lucky. The track was dry enough just for my lap. I think if I was a few corners behind, I wouldn't have able to get the pole lap. But that's pretty much sums up my race. I just got lucky with the pole, and I just didn't have a race to compete with Michael nor Joel. Like, Michael was like 2 seconds faster than me, and it was tragic. Like, even with his penalty, he won with a super comfortable, healthy lead. So that's crazy how much the pace difference was. And same with Joel. Go ahead.
No, would you have done anything differently in with hindsight here?
Maybe I would just pit a lap earlier. Joel undercut me like massively. I kind of forgot that if their track did get flooded, it would take forever to dry up, so it would be a wet finish. So yeah, I just fell for his undercut because I just spaced out, and yeah, that's the only thing I would have changed. Also, I would have not spun my car. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those conditions, I'll kind of ask all three of you guys later on, but I mean, have you driven in more wet conditions in ACC before? Because that was looking like monsoon weather from us in the booth.
Oh, it was definitely flooded. Even if it said it wasn't flooded, it was super wet. I haven't driven flooded track in a long time. I've been asking Davin for a flooded track, and we finally got it. So yeah, I'm happy.
Really, really great race from you regardless, Arjun. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks for hosting.
Second place, Joel Klaus. Joel, I mean, obviously, I know you were looking for a first place finish, but considering, the on-off status you've been at this season, you've got to still be happy with the second place. Walk me through what happened with you.
Man, I'm super happy with that result because I've just spent the whole week not practicing and not driving, but actually just trying to put my rig together. I was literally fastening my pedals in those first 5 minutes of quali when I wasn't driving, just trying to get them set. So I'm really happy with how that went, considering all that.
Talk to me about the spin, by the way, because we saw you lose it and give that lead up to Landry. But again, the conditions were gnarly. Did you even know what perpetrated it in the first place?
I think I dipped the wheel too much on that curb on the outside curb on the left, and it just spit me out. It was my fault, not paying enough attention and just kind of letting the traction control do too much of the legwork there, I think.
Are we going to see you next week? I feel like I need to ask that now that you got the band, you got the rig finally fully together now. Are we going to see you at the finale at Spa?
I think last time you asked me that, I didn't show up, and I feel bad. But yes, I will be there this time, even though I meant it last time, but this time I definitely will. I think things are 95% together now, so I'll see you there.
Appreciate it, Joel. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week. On to your race winner. Somehow, some way, Michael Landry works his way from 7th to 1st. Landry, did you feel like Superman doing that?
You will not believe what happened at the start. I don't know if you catch it on the screen.
No. What happened?
Probably not. So I could say I did a 2000 IQ move, but I did a mistake. I started on dry tire.
You
did not. Spin, I was on dry tire on the first stint, and somehow it worked. So I got some position on the start, and then I was able to keep up with Brian Slater. And then after that, it was drying up, and the tire was just better than the wet tire because I don't know, it just worked because of the hot condition. And then I pit for rain tire. It was raining after that, and was just keeping up the pace. So that's why on the first stint I was like that much faster.
There is just no way. So you started the race on dries.
Yes. So that's why I hit Zach. I'm really sorry for Zach. It was on corner exit. So I was, at that point, I have like second or a bit more on pace than them. And on the exit, I just have way more traction than them. And I hit it after the corner exit. So that was my fault. And sorry for that.
No, I mean, we were talking about it in the booth, and I think we're getting the replay right here, but it was just hard for you to react. I mean, Martin, we know the Mustang's difficult when it comes to getting on power. I don't know if there was a little bit of a slide, maybe a wiggle already, but it would have been hard for you to predict that.
Yeah, well, unfortunate. I didn't mean to kill it like that, but
obviously that gave you the kind of opportunity. I won't say that gave you the opportunity because you were already, it was going to be a one-stopper regardless, but you got the opportunity there with the dry tires to go on and do that. So
yeah.
So last question here that I'll throw at you. You had a really, really great race, getting points on Charles here. Again, we don't know the total picture here, but what's the confidence like going into Spa?
Spa will be a log weather, so it's going to be nice weather for sure. It's log like that, so it could be fast. Everybody will be fast there. We have the qualification there, so we up to anybody. So everybody knows the track, know the condition. So it's going to be everybody's game.
The 5-time champion, I counted it right this time, is going for number 6 here. We wish you all the best of luck next week.
All right, thank you very much.
Couple more guys on the way here, and then we'll sign off from Kyalami. Stay with us.
That was a fun race.
Yeah, right? Okay, joined by 3 more guys here. Let's start with Mikhail Charles, who not only gained, I want to say, 5 positions in the opening lap, but managed to work his way from 17th to 5th. Mikhail, I know you were obviously looking for maybe a little bit more there, but you still got to be happy with that result.
Honestly, no, I'm fine. I'm leading the championship by a good bit, so it's fine. I'm just trying to have fun.
I know there was a lot of opposite luck there, and that's probably we know that's naturally the Mikhail Charles way, right? But I mean, I don't think a lot of us have seen a more flooded track or more heavy rain than before, although I'm sure Davin's got an opinion. We'll get to that in a second. But was there confidence in the car today?
Yeah, the car felt fine. Seeing that I did 0 practice, it was nice. You know, when I was in the rain and I was sliding, I was going sideways. That was pretty scary, but besides that, it was fun. It just felt nice.
Making for great TV, though.
Absolutely. Yeah. we had Elliot working overtime on the replays, so we thank you for giving us those highlight reels.
Did you guys see all the passes?
Yeah,
not all of them, but a lot of them.
A lot of them. I think we got to go back and watch that opening lap at some point. And we'll get that for you guys at some point for everybody on stream. But I think maybe a lot of people were saying it's the Charles way and the dive bombism of it, but no one would be expecting anything different. I'll end with this because, again, comfortable lead in the championship heading into Spa. What is the confidence level at here for the finale?
I've never done a race in this car at Spa before, but I think I'm going to at least come second, so that's pretty good. And that should make me win.
Best of luck to you next week, Mikhail. An absolutely phenomenal job from you.
Yippee, thank you.
Pair of Hondas here finishing in, I believe it was 5th and 6th. You guys can both go ahead and unmute yourselves. It's Carter Hayne and Davin Sturdivant. The 2 Hondas coexisted brilliantly. They worked their way up the field. Let's start with you, Carter, because there was great execution from your end on strategy, on patience. Your thoughts on that race?
It came to me super well. Like I'm so happy. Like pre-race, when I saw the weather forecast, I just started giggling to myself. I thought, yes, that's what I wanted. I wanted some rain. This is gonna make this so much more fun. And oh, it did. And then I'm sure you saw when I came out of the pits, I was looking to my right and I saw Davin coming. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna beat him to turn one, but I'm gonna try. And that paid off. That was my 5th place right there. That move, it sealed it.
I'll throw this Davin, and well, I can throw this at both of you guys. Was the game plan always for you, Carter, to kind of try and do the undercut? And Davin, was there any reaction on your end to maybe try and stay out longer?
Carter, you want to go first?
I can. Yeah, the pit strategy was just kind of by feel. That's just kind of how I do those. Like, I was watching the weather and trying to think, is it going to stop? Is it going to stop? Oh, it's going to get harder. Okay, well, I'll pit at some point around here. Then Davin goes to the pits. I'm like, all right. I got to pit now. It was not planned, but it worked.
Fair. Yeah, I actually reacted to the leader pitting, and I thought about running long, but reading the weather was kind of hard. And so I had already kind of made my fuel strategy call early on. And so it's like, well, I'm not going to run on fumes for one more lap for no reason. And then Carter's smart. So of all the drivers in the field, he is the one I wanted to come out with. Because I was like, he won't risk his car being dumb, and we won't be expensive the whole time.
Right.
Because we caught the cars in front because we just paired up. Right? Like, I would close up to him, and I'm like, if I don't get within half a second, I'm not going to make an attack. So let's just go and see if we can run down Mikhail instead of him and I battling, because we dropped the cars behind by like 16 seconds.
Right.
So it's like, why? Right? Let's just go. I loved it.
That's part of the racecraft you talk about all the time, right? Not necessarily battling if there's no need to, right? You two could have battled the whole time. And, it would have been a great battle to watch, but from a driver standpoint, is it really the best decision? I mean, you guys showed today that the best decision was work together, use the weather and the drafts to kind of keep your cars going as fast as you can. I mean, you started closing on Mikhail and you had a real opportunity.
Yeah, in the heavy rain, we were some of the fastest cars on track. I got a couple purples in heavy rain, and I was like, oh, okay, it'd be like that. Okay, let's not disrupt this. This be going good. I like it.
You guys both respectively absolutely deserve your flowers because I know the work you put in on IHOP, but does it feel like the Honda is the right tool for a job like this?
In the wet, yeah. Like, its short wheelbase makes it easy to turn, and the mid-engine helps with retraction, and there's a couple of, electronic finaglery you can do to kind of really get a lot of good rear traction out of the car. So the heavier it rained, I was like, this is good. Like, as long as it doesn't puddle, like the car struggles in big puddling, but there was never any big puddles except for there was one in turn 2 and there was one in Cheetah that you can kind of avoid. But everywhere else, it's like, as long as there are no puddles I can drive through, we will be the fastest cars on the racetrack. So the more it rained, I was like, oh, thank God. Yay. Please bring more.
Carter, really, really great job from you this weekend. We'll see you at the finale at Spa. We got a couple more questions for Davin here. I'll start with this, Davin, because very rarely would we want to see 100-degree temperature and downpour rain.
Yeah.
But it actually led to one of the best on-track products we've seen. And I know that kind of thought process, if I remember, was maybe because of the weirdness of the delay in Spa and maybe some other things. What was the thought process behind doing a race like this at Kyalami?
Well, the weather builds progressively over the season, right? So we did a wet race where I could see, okay, this is about what the weather kind of deals with the number of cars we had on track. And then we did a changing condition race where I could kind of see how the weather would dry up with the cars we had on track and kind of reasonable weather. So it's like, well, if it's hot and it rains a lot, that'll make the tires overlap a lot in their pace difference, which will add a lot of variability to the race, which then won't make it a sure thing that certain people are just locked into pace right away. And that's what you want, right? Like, we've got a lot of guys that we've been racing together for years, so like you already know how fast they are. And so you need to be able to add a little bit of variety in the track conditions in order to make it so that there's a chance that there's an error or a closer discrepancy in cars. So, Asana made it so that whenever it wasn't raining, the track would dry out fast, and then whenever it rained, you had to determine what you did with your tires in that heat period.
Right.
So, made it fun.
And I don't know if you heard, Landry started on dries.
Dude, I heard that, and it was like, I understand how he did that, but I am mad as hell. Like, because it's the hot weather plus the dampness that made it just about the right amount of time. Like, when I ran my quali lap, I did my last lap on slicks, and I basically ran the same time as I did on wets when it was raining. And I was like, I don't know what the weather's going to do, though. I don't know if I can trust that to not get worse.
Right.
So, So, damn it.
I mean, you wanted variability. You wanted strategies to not be cut and dry.
Right.
And we see that. You and Carter did wets the whole time and did extremely well. Landry did dries for the first stint, did extremely well. I mean, it just shows that it comes down to strategy and how you play your cards, not necessarily what cards are the right ones.
Right.
And drivers
for
can
everybody.
drive, right? Like, Landry's one of our coaches for a reason. He's got good fundamentals. He knows how to give himself margin. He doesn't put risk in his car when he doesn't need to. He's just faster than the cars around him. He doesn't need to be the fastest, and so he doesn't die. And so it makes sense why he does well. He does all the things we try to teach people here all the time of, like, don't risk your car. Carter and I were in the same spot. We were doing the same lap times to the T for about 25 minutes, like literally the same. And I was like, okay, our cars are going around this fancy circle at the same pace. Let's not disrupt that amount of pace. If we do anything, we're going to slow down. That sucks. We want to be going fast. Let's go fast. So, yeah, it's good. Good race. No one touched my car. It was undamaged.
Let's end on this because I know it's getting late for you and I got to get you out of here. But last thing, Elliot, I think you've got the number better than me right now, but I think we counted about 6 or 7 on track, like multi-party car incidents from race control. So if you wanted 5. So we've found the solution for clean racing. It is over 100-degree absolute monsoon racing with rain, with an insane amount of rain. So if we just want to keep that going on for season 24 onward.
Yeah, we'll just make it sauna racing the whole time. Honestly, this is my favorite condition. Like, this plus the, like, heavy dry, I love it. Because then in the middle of the stint, it can just change.
Right.
And that's fun because you can kind of look at it, and 15 minutes is enough time that you can kind of intuit your way through it, but it's not so locked in that you're like, oh, I definitely know what's going to happen. Right? Because that's what you want. You want the chance that you could be wrong, and can you deal with it? Right? So...
We go from the mystery box of conditions to Goldilocks next week. Absolutely great drive from you in the Honda this week, Davin. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
For sure. All right, some final thoughts here before we get you guys, all 10 of you still in chat, out of here. Elliot, let's start with you. Any closing thoughts?
Next week is worth watching. And not just because I want people to watch, but because next week is the championship battle. With Landry finishing ahead of McHale this week, it's going to give Landry a little bit of a bump closer, and it's going to make next week matter all that much more. I think next week is going to be a really exciting race between the two of them, so we'll see how that plays out.
Greg, we want to thank you so much for spending time and stepping down from the booth to spend some time with us. Any closing thoughts here before we call it?
No, I mean, just echo what Elliot said. All eyes on next week. I'm very glad that I will be out of town, so I won't be stewarding that one either. And thank you too. These, I've been in NASRS a long time, and these broadcasts bring a very exciting element to being a part of this league, and appreciate your efforts.
I every single time we kind of get to that. And now there's excitement because we're gonna crown the champion, but there's that sadness that I unfortunately got to step away, and I've got a clear schedule on Tuesday nights. But we're gonna go out with an absolute bang here with Goldilocks conditions next Tuesday at Spa, and I cannot wait to take you guys along with us for one more time here in season 23. That'll do it from us here in Kyalami. I want to thank all of you for watching once again. And for Greg Cacciaduri and Elliot Brown, it's Jackson Lambros. Seeing you next time and signing off for Kyalami with your race winner, Michael Landry. Good night.